right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back from lunch. Woo. Excited to be here. All right. So before we get going, I just want to do a quick little plug and kind of explain this format. If this is your first time at Luminate, this is going to be a live podcast. This is something that we tried for the first time last year. Felt like it was fun. We had a good time. So, hey, why not do it again, right? So first, let's get started, and I'm sure most of you people in the room know the guests that I have up here today, Kevin and Rob, but if you guys would give a quick little intro before we kind of get into the meat of the show here. How about we start with you, Rob?
Sure. So Rob Spanos. So I grew up, my family had a couple small roadside New England motels, so I kind of grew up on that side of it. Literally, our house was on the property for one, so 8 years old, I was cleaning rooms, and 10 years old, I was running the front desk and all those fun illegal things at that age. Like many kids growing up in the family business, it's the last thing I wanted to do professionally, so I went to school for biochemistry, which makes total sense. And then quickly realized after that the hospitality industry is really where my heart belonged. So since then, I've worked on the brand side, I've worked on the management company side, and I'm currently on the ownership side with Noble Investment Group. But mostly, some time in operations, but mostly on the commercial revenue management, sales, and marketing end of it.
That's perfect.
I guess good afternoon. Kevin Patel. I'm originally from East Africa, Tanzania. So when I graduated from college in the US, I went back to Africa for 12 years, ran a hospitality company there, family business, worked that for 12 years before deciding to leave and come back to Orlando, Florida, and branch out on my own, and then ended up with Scarlett Hotel Group overseeing revenue and commercial. I got my start in Africa where I really came up the operation ranks and learned a lot about the ownership perspective, which actually guides me today in the way I do revenue and commercial.
Nice. So our topic today, yes, it is also AI, and it's called, What Does an AI-Powered Hotel Actually Look Like? Now, I'm going to start by reading you some terms, okay? I'm going to read these terms, and afterwards, I want you guys to give me your ideas of what you think the through line is on these terms that I'm going to read. And is there any chance we could get some dramatic music with this, if possible?
Let me see what I can do.
If not, it's okay. You can also use your imaginations. Think Hans Zimmer, think very dramatic, think that kind of, get that kind of music playing in your mind. So the first term is digital transformation. Okay?
This is entirely not pre-planned.
And copyright strikes. I don't know how those work, but I'll figure it out later. The next one is the data flywheel. Okay, all right. I hear a groan. That's a good sign. Frictionless hyper-personalization. And the last one, and my personal favorite, end-to-end predictive analytical reasoning at the frontiers of compute. Okay, any guesses what those terms are and why I read you those terms? Any guesses what the through line is there? Those are, as of May 2026, the most hated, overused AI buzzwords currently in our industry. Yeah. Why did I read that list of torturous buzzwords to you? Well, here is why. I am actually very excited that now in 2026, we are starting to get out of the buzzword phase, what I'm calling the buzzword phase of AI. So how many people here remember the 90s? I barely remember this, but the paperless transactions, the paperless craze of the 90s. Anybody? Paperless? How big that was? Okay, now put yourself in the shoes of, okay, it's 2001, 2002, okay, e-commerce. Who remembers e-commerce and the amount of buzzwords around e-commerce, right? And then you get to 2010, cloud compute. All about cloud compute, gotta have cloud compute, right? So these are phases, and all these technologies are still with us, right? It's not like they went anywhere, but we got past the buzzword phase. And I feel like that finally is what we're getting to now in 2026. So what I want to do is ask my guests, and I'm gonna start with you, Kevin. Talk to me a little bit about the realities, like let's cut the BS, let's cut the buzzwords. Tell me, It's Tuesday morning at Scarlett Hotels. You walk into the office. How are you guys actually doing something with AI right here, right now in May of 2026?
Yeah, Tuesday morning, walk in. I would hope everyone in this room, the first thing we're looking at is the glance report and looking at the AI-powered summary glance. So starts off with that. So, that takes me to that we're in the stage where everything is AI stacked. So we've got 7 different tools. Everything has its AI chatbot. We're reviewing that. We're studying that. We're not AI-powered yet, right? So that's the day, back in the day, owner reporting, any sort of update it took a long time. Today, it's quick. Data is easy. And we're at that stage, we're finally starting to see clarity in the data and putting it together to make some strategy decisions.
That's perfect. And then what about you?
Yep. So we're have integrated and are continuing to integrate it kind of into all aspects of what we do, which encompasses all aspects of the life cycle of a hotel. And so whether it's site selection for new developments and looking for asymmetric opportunities within potential market trends or micro level site opportunities, to ways to optimize construction costs, or our capital markets and debt stack, and how can we use AI to optimize that. Obviously, for this group, the commercial side, once the hotel is actually running, the use cases there are endless. While we're operating it, there's also the financial optimization and the expense control side, and then again using it for predictive purposes to help us on the investment side determine when it's time to sell a hotel. So truly kind of integrated across all aspects of the industry.
Okay, and this is a little bit of a throwback to actually Blake's presentation, where when we talked about AI adoption, it was 2.4. The most cautious observers actually were the asset managers. And that's part of why we've got you on the show today, Rob, is you are in that asset management role. What are some uses that are specific to you as an asset manager? Because I think a lot of people in the audience would be curious, because it's probably a pretty small percentage of people who are here that are asset managers.
Yeah, the 2.4, or the smaller number, didn't overly surprise me, and I think they were on point in terms of why. By definition, we tend to be more analytical sorts. I come from revenue management too, so not a big leap there. But there is quite a bit of fiduciary responsibility that we have towards our investors to make sure that we're protecting not only their investment, but also their information and the proprietary knowledge that goes along with that. And so it does take significant effort and resources to make sure that you are building out an AI-friendly and AI-incorporated business environment that has those gatekeepers and safeguards in place to make sure that the information is being maintained in a reasonable and responsible manner. And so we've had to invest quite a bit to do that, but AI is part of this space. It will continue to be part of this space, and we're committed to being innovators in that space. So it just means that we have to invest those resources to make it happen.
Yeah. And so that fiduciary aspect, that maybe makes things a little more high stakes, would you say? Is that maybe a...
I think you could make that argument, but I think whether it's on the operator side or on the ownership side, we're all in it for the same thing. Success means the same thing to all parties, and so we're all working towards the same goal. And so in my mind, we all have the same stakes in place.
Okay. Love it. And I do want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to kind of bring the conversation around our theme today, which is time to act. And I know we saw some really good illustrations earlier from Tim, where he showed us, how much it cost to light a room in London, right? And it dropped from, 100,000 pounds when people were using candles, and dropped off. One analogy that really resonated with me, because I'm a big history nerd, is the time it took to cross the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so I want to get some guesses, if I can, from the audience. In the age of sail, 1620, how long do you think it took a boat to get across the Atlantic? So to go from Plymouth, England to Boston. Any guesses? Like, throw a number out there and give it to me in days, because it took days. Okay, that's a good guess. That's a good guess. 66 days, actually, in the age of sail. In 1850, how much had they got that down by? What do you guys think? How long do you think it took in 1850? We're talking steamships now. The sails are gone. Steamship. 21. It's 14. 14 for a clipper ship. I don't know what a clipper is. And then in 1907, a steam ocean liner got it down to 4.5 days. By 1950, they got it down to 3.5 days. And then something really weird happens in 1958. Any guesses what happens with how long it takes to get across the Atlantic in 1958? I'll give you a hint. The Boeing 707 happens. And then you go from days, and now you're talking hours. So it dropped from 4.5 days down to 9 hours. So I want to ask you guys, and Kevin, I'm going to start with you. What is an age of sale process that used to take you 66 days that now you've got down to 3.5 hours?
I'd say the first thing is reporting. Everything you do, all the different data sources, all the different logins, getting that clarity on where we are, where we need to go, and responding is a lot faster. What used to take us hours in a day just to understand one market, we now can do it a lot faster. So we're able to quickly respond to different ownership requests, RVP requests. Our teams are able to just get that information out faster and focus more on the strategy.
And what is it about reporting that takes so much time from commercial strategists? Is it the formatting? Is it pasting things together? Is it manually doing the calculations?
It's the data sources. I think you've got so many different tools out there. They're siloed, right, and they don't communicate with each other. So you're looking at your internal data year over year. Then you're looking at your market competitiveness data, and then you're looking at your GSS scores. You're looking at how all that plays together to actually drive the strategy. And putting that together is sometimes a hotel is performing a different way because it's got maybe a product issue, right? So we've got to show that in the data, though, and compiling that in the data has been a long process historically. It's a lot faster now.
Okay. And Rob, I want to ask you a similar question, but in a little bit different way. What is a decision or a process that your team is doing today that you still feel is too slow, that if you could, you would bring AI into the loop and really start to speed things up?
Well, sitting here now, I think having it help me decide how to get my hair to look as good as Kevin's is that's next on my list. I got Claude actually working on it right now off my phone. I think one thing that we are investing heavily in is developing underwriting models, both in terms of site selection for new builds, but also helping us just optimize and better understand, is this a hotel that we want to get ourselves into and look into purchasing, or is this one that's worth passing on it? And there are, as everyone in this room knows, there's a near infinite number of layers that go into that in terms of trying to evaluate the hotel itself, the market, and all of the factors that go into that. And so, we are still developing out that modeling, but that will be a massive time saver. And the faster to market, the faster our bid gets in a potential buyer's hands, and we see opportunity for success there.
How long on average would you say that's taking right now? And is that like a feasibility? Is that what you call a feasibility, or is that a different aspect of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's very deal dependent. So I mean, there's really no static answer to that question because there's just so many variables involved.
Okay, so it could be weeks, it could be months.
It could be weeks, it could be months. I've seen it be years.
Okay, wow. Let's shift gears a little bit, and actually, we've talked so much today about the back of house efficiencies that we're trying to build. I want to know a little bit more, especially from the guest perspective, where this all might be going. So we're talking about all these really cool, new, shiny toys, all these AI efficiencies we're going to bring to the back office, but what does this ultimately look like for the guest? And this could be like a 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. There's not necessarily like a window that you have to talk about. But Kevin, I want to start with you. Let's say we go all in on AI. What changes for a guest, and at what point is that actually going to be tangible? And then if you're the guest checking in, what's different?
So first, I think it's a misconception to think that we're in the futuristic space where there are going to be robots everywhere. I think that's out the window, and hopefully that stays out the window. From a guest perspective, honestly, my hope is that nothing changes because a frictionless, seamless AI rollout, the guest should not even feel that system's there in the back end, right? So if you're picking up the phone and talking to an AI automated system, it should sound like you're talking to a human being, right? So the guest should not feel that. What I want to see, though, is that our property leaders have more time in their day to actually get out of the back office and spend it with guests, spend it with team members, because I think that's what's going to bring back the hospitality side of it. Whether you're a select serve or a full serve, the expectation right now from the reporting perspective is very heavy. It doesn't matter if you're the GM of a select serve reporting stack is the same as a full service. Like, take out the food and beverage department, right? So how do we give them more time in their day to be out there mentoring, training, grooming the next future leaders on the property, and spending time with the guests? So I think that's the first step. If from the guest perspective, that will really make a difference.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. And you also had a really good point too when we talked earlier about how even this could even really be a huge unlock for like select service properties too, right? So even a 2.5 star property that you don't think is even going to be able to offer you any sort of white glove service, and that changes.
Most select serves are they've got lean teams, right? So you give them hours back in the day, spend it with guests, let the guests decide their experience. You're going to have a certain number of guests that want to come in and have that fully automated, no interaction, go to my room. And you're still going to have the guests that want to have time speaking at the front desk, having someone explain to them where, the closest restaurant is, the closest bar is. They like that interaction. So the real key thing is here, AI will unlock an experience that you want as a guest, and you decide your journey then, right? So, and the hotel can deliver on it.
Exactly.
Well, and I think it opens up the opportunity for guest personalization at the Hampton Inn, a Residence Inn, a non-luxury product that just doesn't exist today. If you check into an ultra-luxury hotel, there's teams of people there right now whose sole job it is to learn everything about you before you get there so that they can customize your experience in ways that you can't even think of. Now, for them, AI will automate a lot of that, and they probably have some expense savings associated with that. But right now, the select service model, that customization simply doesn't exist. And it's not financially viable to add 5 concierges to do it at a Hampton Inn, but AI can do that. And so the ability to go check into a Hampton Inn and have the kinds of pillows you like, and a picture of Harry Potter on the nightstand because I know that you're going to Harry Potter World in Orlando, things that, again, at a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons, an everyday affair, can start to trickle down into the select service model.
Perfect.
I think there was something else we spoke about was the data is there. So, let's say you check in at 11 a.m. and the first thing you typically do is go look for a coffee shop, right? But the same guest checks in the evening and maybe is looking for food and beverage, right? So we learn those patterns, and those patterns are there in the data. It's just broken in different styles. Once we get all that together, then we start talking about personalization. Yep. You know exactly what to anticipate for that guest when he checks in the morning or they check in the evening. And that customization is the next level.
Yep, just a matter of unlocking it. All right, well, it looks like we're at time here today. So before we break, I would like everybody to please give a big round of applause for our guests that we had on today. And by the way, if you would like to subscribe to the Spotlight Podcast, we do this every month. It's either an interview or a data story with my friend and colleague Blake over there. But yeah, that's what we have for you today. So thank you so much for attending and listening to us. Appreciate it.